Hello and welcome to this lecture. In this section, you learned what are looping statements, and to make sure that you have your understanding on looping right, let's go ahead and write a program in Python that is based on looping. So let's first start by opening a text editor. The one which I use is Atom. So what program are we going to write? Let's take a real-time example. Say you have a collection of books and a friend of yours wants you to check if you have a particular book with you or not. So what you would do is go through your collection of books and then let your friend know whether or not you have that book in your collection. Let's first save this file. I'll be naming it as findbook.py. Just make sure that you're giving the extension .py to identify your file as a Python file. So once again, to get a problem statement right, it is to check if a book is existing in your collection. So what is the first thing that you want to do? You want to create a collection of your books. And how do we do that? By making use of a list. So let me create my list and name it collection of books. And then let me go ahead and have 3 books in it. The Alchemist, How to Win Friends and Influence People, and finally the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Now what you want to do is to give a prompt to your friend to let him enter the name of the book which he wants you to check. So to do that, I have a print statement that says enter the name of the book. And then I have a variable name in which I will be holding the name entered by your friend. So let me call it book to be checked. And then we call the input function. Now if you remember what an input function does, it takes input from the user and stores it in this variable in string format. So now that you have the book which you want to check, let's run a for loop across your list to find out if you have this particular book in your list. And how do we do that? For book in your list, which is collection of books. So what the statement does once again is it checks if this book, which will have the value in the first iteration as The Alchemist, in the second iteration it will have the name of your second book, and in your third iteration it will have the name of your third book. So you will be checking in each iteration if this book is equal to the book which your friend is talking about. And to do that, we make use of an if condition. So I check if my book in the list which I have is equal to the book to be checked. In that case, write a print statement that says yes, you have that book in your collection. So let me call yes, I do have that book. Now what if you do not have that book? The normal tendency as a beginner for us would be to go to the else statement right here. Now what happens here is, if you give the else statement, say for example, your friend wants you to check if you have this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. So in the else statement, if you print, I do not have that book, then what would happen is in the first iteration, the book will have the value The Alchemist, and you will check if Alchemist is equal to How to Win Friends and Influence People. Now since that is not equal, this else clause gets triggered, and then you print the statement I do not have that book, when in reality you actually had that book. So let's get rid of this else statement, and if you remember, we can make use of a break statement once we have found the book. So in this case, say for example, my friend wanted me to find the book Alchemist. So as soon as I find The Alchemist, I no longer need to go further in my list. I can break my loop right there. And then we have a condition to print when you haven't found the book. So if you remember the else statement corresponding to a loop, the else is executed when your break statement is not executed. Which means at the end of the list, if the book was not found, then this if condition never gets triggered and your break statements never get executed. So in the else corresponding to your for loop, you can have a print statement that says, no, I do not have that book. Now let's save this file and execute it to see what our output will be. So to execute it, I open terminal on my Mac. If you're on Windows, you could use command prompt or PowerShell. If you're Linux, you could use the same terminal. So to execute this program, I enter Python 3 and then I navigate to the location of my file, which is placed in desktop, and the name of my file is findbook, findbook.py. So enter the name of the book. Say the name which my friend wants me to check is The Alchemist. So I get the output that says, yes, I do have that book. And that's because this if condition got triggered. Now what if you do not have that book in your collection? Let's see how to handle that case. Let's open our terminal once again, and this time we will be entering the name of a book which is not present in our list. So on executing it, to enter the name of a book, let me say Tuesdays with Maury. Now what happened is the else statement of your for loop got triggered. And since the break statement was not executed, you have printed the statement, no, I do not have that book. So that's the end of this lecture. And now that you have a really strong understanding on looping statements, let's go to our next section, which is on functions. And before you get there, make sure that you solve all the exercise problems attached in PDF and also go through all the notes. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next section.